All right, we are live. Welcome back, everyone. J-Bone here for Smash This Podcast. I am totally failing at the whole hashtag MLW Mondays thing. Was feeling under the weather last night. That's why we didn't do a review of MLW Fusion like I've been trying to do lately. In fact, I didn't even get the last week's. I apologize for that because I do like the show. I do feel it's a good wrestling product. Just too many things working against me last week to get it done. But nonetheless, we're catching up a little this week. We're going to do the current one, talk about the last episode just briefly. Of course, this is all leading up to Wargames, which is going to get aired this coming episode, I believe. They just did the tapings for it this last weekend, and I've been trying to avoid spoilers. I haven't heard anything, so don't want to know. I'm really excited to see how it's going to go down on television. It was a pretty stacked card. From what I've heard is that one that's going to air this coming, Friday or Saturday, whenever it airs on TV and then gets put on YouTube, which is the one I watch. They're going to do the actual War Games match. So I don't know if that's going to take up the whole episode or how it's going to come off on TV. But nonetheless, I'm very excited to see that in its how they present it. This is reviewing MLW Fusion number 21, the one from just this last weekend. Touching briefly on the one before that, I love what they're doing with Flyin Brian's character, how they're putting him with the new Hart Foundation, and that there's kind of a tug of war going on with this character between Teddy Hart and Davey Boy Smith, and on the other side you got Kevin Sullivan. Like, you got the new school versus the old school. And I love watching this because it's showing new, younger fans, like the next generation of the Hart Foundation, to those who are not familiar with the older stuff. And I remember seeing older stuff when I was really young, and that Hart Foundation, of course, was Jimmy Hart managing Bret Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart. And I know there was extensions of that in the 90s, adding Davey Boy Smith and Flyin Brian Pillman. And that's one character, whether it was in WCW or WWF at the time, is one that I've heard a lot about, but I've not seen the footage. So in watching Flyin Brian Jr. come up in today's wrestling, it makes me want to go back and look and see what his dad did, because I've heard so much about it throughout the Monday Night Wars, the Attitude Era, if you will, and it's also going to be really interesting to see him, what he does. Is he going to be a carbon copy? And I mean that I don't mean that in a negative way. Is he going to be, a copy of his dad, or is he going to throw a different twist on it? It's going to be interesting. And I know he has a match in War Games coming up. I don't remember who he's facing. It's someone new, or at least new to TV. I think Teddy Hart faced him last week. I can't think of his name, but I'm not going to look it up right now. So yeah, and the match between Tom Lawler and Jake Hager, aka Jack Swagger, last week was also really good. Definitely a good headlining content, and good to see Team Filthy come out on top on that one. And speaking of Team Filthy, that's where this episode of MLW number 21 kicks off. We got Richard Holliday, another new face. A lot of new faces on here. I'm always curious to see new talent, and that's what we've seen a lot on this show, is a lot of new faces. I mean, there's a lot of hot current indie faces, whether it be the guys from the new Hart Foundation, or the Lucha Libre style, Phoenix and Pentagon, or Callahan and his guys, and then you got a lot of other new faces. There's all sorts of characters on this show. I really dig it. But before we talk about, if you're digging the content so far and you want to see more, there's plenty more of this where it came from. Go check it out in your spare time. Don't forget to smash that like button, smash that sub button, and ring that bell for notifications. So yeah, Fred Yehai, one of my favorites from the Flow Slam days, when I had Flow Slam. There's a certain amount of people that I enjoyed watching on Flow Slam as I was trying to expand my wrestling watching, watching Evolve and all the other things that were on Flow Slam. And Fred Yehai became one of my favorites on Evolve. And I was really surprised to see within the last year when he left, Evolve, because I've over the last, year or two, I've considered Evolve kind of like another backdoor to WWE, as far as them looking for talent. And I don't mean that in a negative way. He just called Evolve the ass of WWE. No, that's not what I mean. Just as what's the term they use? Like a spawning ground? I don't know. That's probably not what they call it. Kind of like OVE back in the day. Not OVE. Ohio. Oh dear God. See, I switched from coffee to something cold while I was watching the Scarlet Bordeaux thing, and my brain just went. So, no, Ohio Valley Wrestling. That's what I meant. But this was a decent match between Fred Yehai and Richard Holliday. Fred Yehai comes out on top with Team Filthy at his side, and I believe it was Matt Stryker that went on to say that Freddie Yehai is going to go do a 3-month tour in Germany and wrestle for is it WXW, I believe is the company, XWX, it's something like that, over in Germany. In fact, that was another one that was featured on Flow Slam. I watched a couple of their shows, and I don't remember who was all on them. I watched so much stuff while I had Flow Slam. It's really a shame that went away, because there was so much good stuff on there, for the short time that it was around. So yeah, good luck, Fred Yehai. Hope your travels are safe, and can't wait to see, what you do over there. Who knows? Maybe MLW will feature some of his matches. That'd be really cool to see. I think that would certainly expand their watching, and then we get a promo from Flyin Brian Jr. talking about Kevin Sullivan, and I like this promo. It kind of made him look like a bit of a pompous ass, but that's not a knock on him. He's just, He's creating his character on the show. He's obviously putting himself with the new Hart Foundation against anything old school trying to manipulate him or carve him into who they want him to be. And I know there's a lot of different opinions on Kevin Sullivan out there, but it's cool how they put him into this. And they showed the footage of Flyin Brian Jr. and his crew from the new Hart Foundation, Teddy Hart and Davey Boy Smith Jr. Really taking it to Kevin Sullivan. I mean, even cracked his skull open. Brian even broke his cane over Kevin Sullivan's head. Pretty brutal. But I like it. I like it. They're talking about Kevin Sullivan being taken immediately to a medical facility down in Florida. They'll be giving updates on his current condition. But I like a little bit of old school thrown in there. You certainly saw that during the what the hell was that? Oh, the 40-man battle. What do they call that? The battle riot. That was fun. Conan even took part in that. Interesting that he did not come out with his boys at the last match. But let's go into the next match here. Homicide versus PCO. And they were talking about Homicide being an old school MLW original from back in the day when they used to it was back in the early 2000s, I believe, and that's back when CM Punk was on there as well. A lot of the same guys did a bunch of different shows around Florida. I believe it was FIP, MLW back then, a few different ones. Featured guys like Punk and Homicide. But Homicide's still kicking ass, obviously, as we've seen in Impact recently, but now being brought into this show, and he's not tied with anyone yet. It was very interesting to see, I believe, Selena De La Renta, I believe that's her name, was at ringside, kind of stone-faced, didn't give any emotion or didn't come out of her seat, didn't show a lot of response to the match. Just interesting that she was there. So I have no doubt that she was probably scouting for more talent, seeing as he just lost Phoenix and Pentagon. So yeah, I mean, either one of these guys, if she's looking for more talent to hone for her stable, her group, could be either one of these guys, honestly. But yeah, wow, what a crazy match. I haven't seen a lot of PCO, but he's got his own YouTube channel, which has been showing a lot of weird training stuff. And they even talked about that a little during this match. The fact that they're hooking up like car batteries to him to get him charged up and all these different extreme things, kind of turning him almost into, what do they say, like a Frankenstein type monster or character. And he just had this deranged, far off look at his face throughout the whole match. Both these guys, so old school tough. And to see the things that PCO is doing at his age, I think he's almost 50, but he's in incredible shape. And like I said, the things he's doing is just wild. Ends up winning this match. I didn't write down what the finisher was. I watched it late last night. But man, he was walking around ringside all just crazy. I've got a match on my watch later list on, I believe it's on YouTube. The match that he had from, I believe it was WrestleCon weekend with Walter. Walter being from Europe. German wrestler, I believe. And I heard that match was absolutely insane. It's still on my to-do list, just to give you an example of the kind of, almost you can call it like a comeback year. Certainly PCO is putting himself more out in the public eye and getting booked different places around the indie scene. Very interesting. In fact, for a while, I thought he was even going to show up on Impact Wrestling when they started running the promos that ended up being Killer Cross. PCO was one of my other first guesses as far as who this guy was attacking people backstage, because I know that Impact Wrestling was scouting different people that weekend. So yeah, we get into our last match here for the MLW Tag Team Championships. We had Drago and Ray Horace. And if you watch Lucha Underground, you know those are also fan favorites on there. They're teaming up for the first time against the tag champs, Pentagon Jr. and Phoenix. Man, it's such a good match. These guys just kicking the crap out of each other. I'm not going to go into any like major details of the match. I'm not a big play-by-play guy. If you watch my stuff, you know this already. I'll talk about specific moves and stuff that have happened, you know, if something really catches my eye. And I should have written down a couple things here because the match was just so damn good. But one thing I do want to talk about, and I've touched on it briefly on here, is the future of Pentagon Jr. and Phoenix in independent wrestling. Right now, they are everywhere. You see them on CMLL and AAA down in Mexico, amongst other places south of the border. You see them on Lucha Underground. You see them on Impact Wrestling. You also see them here on MLW. They're big in the Midwest with AAW. They're a growing independent company that's just south of the border where I am. I'm just outside Milwaukee. And they're running their shows, I think around where All In was, around that area. I'm not positive, but I think around the Schaumburg area. Possibly other places around there. And it's on my list to get down there sometime and check out a few, just because they got so many good names at these shows. MLW put out a very interesting tweet a few days ago talking about the future of Pentagon and Phoenix, saying that, I'm paraphrasing here, something about the future is bright and will be interesting to see where they go next. And they spelled next NXT. And then right after that happened, Pentagon wrestled for, I believe it was PCW, and they're out on the West Coast. And he said something to the effect at the end of his match that he retained his championship and that he's not going anywhere. So, you know, I know there's a lot of fans being really outspoken out there as far as where they want to see him. Me personally, I love seeing him on MLW. Obviously, I became fans of these guys originally on Lucha Underground because the show is incredible. The storytelling, the matches, of course. And that was a great stepping stone into get their faces out in the public, you know, as like a cult following. And obviously from there, they've been booked in several other places nationwide all over this continent, from Canada down to Mexico, and also in Europe too, I believe. You can't. Wrestling fans are so damn opinionated. You say one thing and just like, oh, I'm blocking this asshole. It's it's we all have our favorites. We all have our opinions. I look at it like, hey, yeah, I love to see them on Impact and MLW and every other place, but you can't knock these guys honing their craft if their goal is to someday make it to WWE. You can't knock them for that. I mean, yeah, they're going to listen to their fans to a point, and I'm sure they're appreciative of it, but you got to let them do what they're going to want to do. So I mean, in my opinion, yeah, I don't want to see them go to WWE just because of what. Yeah, like so many people have been saying lately. Look at what they've done to. They've watered down so many of the guys. Even on 205 Live, I mean, it's a better show than it was over the last year, but they're just not doing anything with any of them, and they're all talented guys, and they're just, they're on Main Event, they're shoved over on 205 Live, they're not featured. So if they're going to bring in guys like Phoenix and Pentagon, it's like, okay, yeah, they're earning a nice paycheck, and I'm sure that's awesome. Hey, money's money. Money does, bring good things. It's a steady paycheck. But you obviously want to have some sort of happiness in what you're doing with your craft, You don't want to get shoved on the C or D show over here somewhere. You want to get featured, and not everybody can be champ. I get that. But you want to, do well on these shows because that's your fan base. Your fan base follows you. If you're part of WWE and you're stuck over here somewhere where no one's going to see you or no one's watching you, what's it worth, I'd rather see these guys travel the world and stay, independent contractors and just, do a booking here, do a booking here, do a booking here, and I mean, that's my opinion on it, but you got to let them do what they want to do. If that's their goal, you can follow them, and I'm sure that's what they hope too for their fans, is that their fans follow them. So we'll see what next year brings. As far as I've heard, season 4 might be the last for Pentagon and Phoenix for Lucha Underground. I'm not positive. I know the show is always kind of up in the air as far as when the next taping is. Obviously, the workers want the tapings to go on this coming fall, which is right around the corner. Haven't heard anything about it, so we'll see. And the way the show's going, it's going to be very interesting to see who comes back for season 5, because man, everybody's getting killed off. It's crazy. So yeah, we'll see about the future of Pentagon and Phoenix, but for now, we enjoy them on Impact, we enjoy them on MLW, and of course Lucha Underground, amongst other places. So we take it for what it is for now. So thanks for watching, folks. That's my thoughts on the latest MLW episode, along with a few other topics. And we'll see you down the road real soon. Tonight, I'm looking to talk about... I finally got around to watching Impact Wrestling's Bad Intentions, the show that featured Sami Callihan in a cage match against... what's his name? Josh Alexander, sorry. Along with a lot of other talent, and we'll be talking about that later tonight. I'll go live, barring I don't feel any worse than I do now. Hate those end of summer time colds. It come out of nowhere and just hit you and your face falls off. It's horrible. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you later tonight. Peace.